Hey guys, really quick before my video begins, I'd just like to encourage you to open the description and check out all my socials below, as well as to subscribe to my YouTube and enjoy the video. So there's a lot of different legends I could choose for this video, but here it is. I am Katars. All right, let's see what I can do with Ragnir. Ragnir's a character I really personally like. He's a Katar character I've actually pulled out in tournament once. And it was against, I believe it was against Low Capped at Montreal. Ultimately, it didn't end up working out for me. I won like one game, and then the next game I lost. Which, you know, that isn't really a Ragnir thing. That was more of me just being really, really bad into Hammer, especially at that time. I like to think I've gotten better at that, but that's not the point. I think that Ragnir is just a super cool character to play. Axe and Katars, they have some really good contrast. Now, I don't think he's as good as Sentinel. However, that's not really it's not because like a difference in Axe and Hammer. I guess maybe a little bit. It's more so of the Katar Sigs. The Katar Sigs on Sentinel do insane damage. They also cover really, really good areas. And they're all super, super strong. And that's not to say that Ragnir doesn't have those. It's just that I feel like where Ragnir really sees a big benefit is the fact that he's a character that has such solid stats, and he also has really good sigs on like Axe. Like I think this sig and this sig are really good. Yeah, there's Axe D sig, not the best, but on Katars also, it feels like, and this goes for every Katar character, feels like aside from maybe Lucien and one other, I'm forgetting who it is, Lucien and who is it? They're just not really super innovative. That's the point I'm getting at. Like, the Katar Sigs feel kind of the same for the most part. And that's not really, you know, obviously it's not the character's fault. And that's not necessarily a problem. It's just that, you know, Sentinel, Asuri, Ragnir, you look at those three, like, for example, their end Sigs cover pretty much the same area. You look at the side Sigs on all the characters. They pretty much cover the same area, just slightly different. And I know it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like there is some truth to it. And also, you look at the D-Sig as well. D-Sig, definitely on all three of them. I mean, D-Sig on Asuri is probably the biggest stretch out of those. But this one, it's just a Fire Blast on the ground. Or if you get the offstage version, it's really, really good too. Yeah, one last thing to mention on Ragnir, though. His stats are super balanced. So you could take any stance you want. And I think you can find some benefit for it. Maybe aside from decks. But I hear on Katars, now, I am no certified Katar player, but I've heard in the past that Katars do get some sort of benefit off of having higher decks. So you would have 7 decks on Ragnir, but you would be down to 4 speed, which speed is such a crucial stat, much more important than dex. So I still think that it's not worth taking dex in this scenario. However, all the other stances are good. With that being said, though, there is this character, Lucien, a character I have mained in the past. I absolutely love. I'm waiting to maybe see some Katar changes because I do feel like Katars are a little underpowered. Not super underpowered. It's more so like there's a lot of quality of life stuff that needs to be changed, like the D-Light angle and also like Dare not dropping. But aside from that, I still have a lot of fun with the weapon. Now, Lucien, I think, has my favorite kit on Katars, which basically all I'm saying is, my favorite kit, I mean, his Katar kit is possibly the most broken, aside from Sentinel right now. Like, the areas that Lucien covers, and especially pre-nerf, and I know pre-nerf is looking in the past, so it's literally irrelevant, but pre-nerf, Lucien was such a beast. He could kill super early with both his Sigs on Blasters and Katars. Still can cover so many good angles. I think D-Sig, especially on Katars, is super, super volatile still. The Blaster Sigs all exist. I think that they are good. I'm not going to say that they're super good. And that guy didn't get the wall touch. I was really, really sad to see. But yeah, another character with really, really good contrast in his kit. And I think if you are playing Katars or you're a Blasters main looking to mix it up, you should definitely look at Lucien, because Lucien is just that character that if you can get a feel for him, he's going to reward you so much, because Blasters are in a fantastic spot and pretty much you're planning for the future, because Katars are for sure going to get some sort of change. I would be shocked if they didn't get any at all. And before I forget to mention also the stats, Lucien's stats, if you take Strength Stance, it's going to take 1 speed away, which isn't that big of a deal given he has such phenomenal stats to begin with. However, you could take away a dex, and then he still would have that 3 strength, which you might feel, at least on blasters. But overall, it's not that big of a deal because you are gaining a defense, and then he's going to have some freakish stats. And if you're wondering what stance I'm using right now, I'm using the defense stance, which, yeah, takes away from dex. Yes, now we are on Queen Nai, or the crossover I'm playing is Asuka, which I personally prefer just because I like the colors of the SIGs a lot more. This character gets ignored, and rightfully so, because there is an issue with the stats especially. Also, it doesn't help, again, that Katars are in the spot they're in, which compared to a lot of weapons, they feel a lot weaker. It's kind of like, why play Queen Nai when if you want a spear character, you could play Hitori, you could play Shang. I mean, you get the point. You could play Ada even. But Queen Nai, in the past, we've seen Stingray most recently be the one to use her. And Queen Nai is a freak, to say the least, if used properly. The thing with Queen Nai is you are enforced to play a certain playstyle because of the low speed. Heck, you're even forced to take speed stance, which isn't the greatest feeling in the world. But if you do take that speed stance, you are going to be rewarded greatly because you're not going to be wanting to run 3 speed. That's just going to feel terrible, especially on a weapon where you need a lot of momentum to play, like Katars. And if you don't have that, then, you know, I feel like Katars' potency is already reduced. I will say a big thing that is nice about Nai is that if you're looking to play this character in 2s, then this character is great for that. High defense, high attack, the signatures hit hard, and also spear is in the mix. So if you have, you know, the spear, you can do a lot of good team combos. I think even with the Katars, if your teammate's using spear, Katars aren't even that bad to like use with like a spear or even gauntlets. You know, you can make Katars work in 2. I feel like Katars not being able to work in 2s is kind of a lie, and it's just a weapon that's a little harder. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. I am playing Caspian, or in this case, I'm actually playing Diamondhead, who I think is a character that I can see myself playing at some point. My biggest problem is, and the reason I don't play him, is because in order for me to play him, Katars would have to be absolutely the best weapon. Because personally, and this is mainly a me thing, but I mean, there is, I guess, some sound logic to it. I just don't like playing weapons that are very similar and like playstyle, like not playstyle, but like what they do. Both gauntlets and Katars are short range, so you are missing out on maybe some easier kill potential and just like the easiness and like the big hitboxes, because that is something that like hammer or sword, you know, both those can provide it, axe even. So that's just something to think about if you're playing this character. However, if you are playing this character, you do have the benefit of having signatures that give you a little bit of range, and I think that does help him some. Also, if you're using a crossover, you know, the crossover exists there as well. I will say, though, out of the signatures, the D-Sig on Katars can be a little weird to use sometimes. It's almost like Vector D-Sig, maybe slightly better. But other than that, I think the SIG kit is pretty solid. Like, all the gauntlet ones give range, or, well, they kind of have range. The NSIG has range. Like, you can move before it's even over, which I think is really good. It basically allows, like, a free hitbox. I'm trying to think of another signature that does that. Like, Sidra Cannon NSIG is a really good example. I'm sure a lot of you guys have gotten to deal with that one. Well, that's basically what it is, just maybe on a lesser level, maybe even better, because I feel like the SIG is just a different angle. It's like the same SIG as Sidra Cannon NSIG, just a slightly different angle. But Katars, or gauntlets, I mean, are actually in such a good spot that you could probably get away with playing this character just because gauntlets are really, really strong. And if the next patch allows it and they buff Katars, at least to a decent amount, or even just make Katars, like I said earlier, more consistent, you could definitely be playing Diamondhead or Caspian or Plague Knight, another crossover. You could be playing this character and it wouldn't feel even that bad because both the weapons would just be absolutely insane, and you would miss out on like the kill potential of that hammer or whatever you're missing. Okay, this guy needs to go. As far as like what stance I'm using speed stance. I'd recommend probably speed stance or probably defense stance. I think defense stance takes away from a strength. However, speed takes away from dex, and then you're left with 4 dex, which I think is really good, especially on 2 weapons that are really good for rushing down. So if you are a more aggressive player, running the speed stance is going to be good, and you are, trust me, you are not going to feel the difference at all of dex. And that's a certified Phazon promise. I will not break that. Oh man, Lin Fei. Now, Lin Fei is a interesting one because I think the stat spread out of all the Katar characters, Lin Fei suffers the most from simply having a stat spread that is so focused around Dex that unless you have Dex being really important for Katars, which summer of 2019, if you remember that time, Katars and Dex were really, really good because I think like with Lin Fei, and this was like a Lin Fei exclusive thing, you could actually get another like part of a half pipe on Katars, which I think is a Delight Dare. You could get that to happen, and that was really, really good. I don't know if it still exists. I don't think it does, because I feel like more people would be playing Lin Fei. But yeah, Lin Fei just suffers from bad stats more than anything. I do think the SIGs, though, are pretty good, and if you've watched like Sandstorm play this character in the past, he does a really good job at like showing off just how good these signatures can be. Or if you even go back to watching Pugsy at like BCX 2018, he did play a little bit of Lin Fei, and we got to see like just how good some of the signatures were. Mainly it's the recovery time. It's not like the force is really special or anything. This SIG hits a little bit from behind. I would say like the active frames also is another thing, at least on the Katars. On Cannon, however, like N-SIG is super, super good. Like you don't even land before it. It's literally a light attack. If any signature on Cannon's a light attack, it's this one, or any like signature on this kit in particular is a light attack. Definitely this one. That is for sure. Now, would I recommend using this character in twos? Probably not. I feel like you're doing a more of a disservice to your teammate than anything. If you want to play like Katars in twos, there's so many good characters. Also, if you want to play Cannon in twos, there's so many good characters. It's just that it's kind of the short end of the stick for more reasons than one, or more than one reason. And yeah, it's just kind of like, don't force yourself like to play this character. Like if you main the character, of course, you know, you can make any character work in whatever scenario, but it's just like, it's a question of why, you know, why make life hard on yourself? Just play something that makes sense, like Ragnir, Sentinel, Asuri, or even like, and this is for twos, or even like Cannon, like I said, Zol is a big one, Onyx. Again, so many choices. Why play this one? I don't know. That does raise the question though, can I see this character becoming like super, super good? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lin Fei has been there before. In the current state that Cannon's in, it would be terrifying to see Katars get a big buff, because if, say, Katars become all of a sudden like an A+ weapon, like A+ and like a tier list or something, I don't know, that's kind of a dumb way to describe it, but say Katars become much better than they are now, and they don't change Cannon. That's insane. That is like a crime, to say at least, to have both those weapons be in the same patch that good. That would be, to say the least, mind-boggling. And I can't imagine seeing that happen. I mean, next patch is probably going to see a Cannon nerf to some degree. I'm sure Cannon will still be good. But yeah, oh, we're going in on Katars a little bit after being down. I actually almost had that. I'm pretty washed with my Katars. I haven't played them too much. I know Wrench, that guy's still rocking them. I'm trying to think who else has been playing him. I mentioned Stingray earlier, but yeah, he's been playing him because he's been playing Queen Nai and some Caspian, actually. And then Wrench, I think, is now some Lucien player. I don't know. I don't know why that guy doesn't just play Sentinel. But speaking of Sentinel, I actually think that Remy's going to be playing that character in Autumn Champs, at least in ones, as some sort of side pick. So that's cool. Oh yeah, and shout out to Santi. He's also another really, really prominent Katar player right now. I don't know how I could forget him. But yes, that was I Am Katars, and this is the only stance I use on Lin Fei. If you guys are running this stance, even base, like, I'd rather see you run this stance than run base. Like, just don't do it. You probably should just go with strength. It takes away Dex, and like I said, Dex is not going to do anything for you here, unless, like, there's some very technical thing that you Katar dweebs know that I don't. But, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.